Friday. You got questions, I've got answers. Today, we're answering the question, can I have pets in an HOA?
You better get fired up.
Guys, happy Friday. Happy to see you. We're here every single Friday answering people's top questions. This week, we've got the question of, hey, I love what an HOA looks like. I love how beautiful it is. I love everything about it, but I've got a pet. Can I live in an HOA? So the simple answer, which maybe is not so simple, is it depends, right? Not everybody's favorite answer, but it's the truth. It really depends on the HOA you're going into, right? Everyone has, or every HOA has different covenants and different rules, and those covenants and rules will depict what it is you can specifically do. I can tell you though, locally here, right? I'm in Port St. Lucie, and I would say what I'm about to say is pretty accurate from northern Martin County, say Jensen Beach, Stewart, Palm City, all the way up to Fort Pierce. That whole area is kind of my market. Typically speaking, if you're in a condo, they tend to allow smaller dogs. They've usually got some sort of size limit, maybe 20, 25 pounds, 30 pounds, something like that. And cats. And a lot of times they'll have a limit. Maybe it's 2. You can have 2 pets. That's it. That's pretty common, right? Some will also say no aggressive breeds, and they will specifically notate which breeds you can and cannot have. They won't take, no, that's not true. They won't say what you can have. They'll say what you can't have, right? And a lot of times it's going to be Dobermans or Rottweilers or pit bulls is a big one here. And it's tough, and I've seen it. I was on the board for the Humane Society, and I remember going in there the first time and seeing the hundreds of dogs, man, these beautiful dogs. And we went through, and we were about halfway through, and I said, man, half these dogs look like they're pit bulls. And the gal running it said it's 70% are pit bulls. And the challenge is people have these pit bulls, they get into an HOA situation, they don't allow the aggressive breed. So what do? They bring the dog to the Humane Society. So there's a big challenge with that. So I would say if you're a pet owner, really try to do your due diligence and kind of thinking ahead the next 5-10 years. What is it you're going to do living wise? We all get into binds, man. Things happen, life happens. So I certainly get it sometimes, but just make sure you're thinking about that for your dog's sake, for your cat's sake. Some HOAs just won't allow them. Some HOAs won't allow dogs, but they'll allow cats, or they'll allow other types of animals, right? And again, they've got the number restrictions. Sometimes there's a limit on how many you can have. Sometimes there's breed restrictions. Sometimes there's size restrictions. The simple answer, though, if I get a client and they tell me, hey, I've got this many dogs, this size of dog, this cat, whatever, I'm going to ask more questions. I mean, because I know there's numbers, sizes, and breeds. So I'm asking, how many do you have? How big are they? And what type of breed are they? Now, I'll tell you, in my opinion, well, this isn't my opinion, it's my experience. I've never had an HOA weigh a dog. So if they got a 30-pound limit and you've got a 33-pound dog, am I concerned about that? No, I highly doubt you're going to get turned down on that. Usually what happens is you've got to submit a photo. If it looks like an 80-pound dog, well, then you might have a problem, right? But if you've got a 33-pound dog, you're probably going to be okay. Obviously, that's not legal advice. You could be in a little bit of a bind, but I've never seen anybody get, the boot for something like that. It's just a photo that's submitted. But those are great questions that should be asked before you even go look at homes. Because why do you want to invest time looking at homes if you're 100% sure you're not going to live in that home? Because you got to take your baby with you, right? Well, then don't look at those homes. It's also easy for a realtor, and this is important for you as a home buyer to understand. It is easy for me to look up what those restrictions are, right? I can call the listing agent and get that. I can look into the docs. I can call the HOA. You, the buyer, can call the HOA, and you can ask those questions, right? So it takes maybe 5 minutes to look it up. It's not really a huge task, but it's something that can pretty easily be done so that you're not wasting your time getting excited about a property that you're not going to end up buying anyway, right? So part of that too is, and I do not recommend this, I see it happening, so I'll present it so you're aware of it, but there's a reason I don't like it for both sides, is you can put the offer in on the property that you like. Go see the property, you like the property, put the offer in, and say you got a 5-day, 7-day, 10-day inspection on it. That 7-day inspection, let's just say it's 7 days, will cover you for anything. You can say, I don't like the color of the light bulbs, I don't like this, I don't like that, whatever, it doesn't matter. Well, during that period, you can also take a look at the documents to say, will it allow FIDO in here, right? If it doesn't allow FIDO in here, we're out. We're going to use the inspection contingency to get out. Why don't I like that, even though it literally works? Well, number one, you're wasting the agent's time. You're wasting your time. You're getting emotionally involved in something that you're not going to end up doing anyway. You're taking it off the market for the seller, which hurts their odds of being able to sell it to another buyer. It's just really not good for anybody. So while you can do it, and while I see it often, I just don't think it's a very good practice for anybody involved. It literally hurts everybody, and it really doesn't help anybody. The one case where I would throw it out there as something I would suggest is if you know there's multiple offers, there's other interest in the property, and they have a deadline of whatever, 5 p.m. tonight, and they don't have documents available for you, and you can't get a hold of the HOA, then yes, put the offer in, put in there your 5, 7, 10-day inspection period, and then during that period of time, you can reach out and try to figure that out. Now, in that case, though, I would claim, hey, listing agent, you weren't prepared with the documents, so unbeknownst to your seller, they're going to take an added risk on my buyer because you didn't present us all the information, and we did not want to lose out on that. So that's the one situation where I would bend and say I certainly understand why people would do it in that situation. But the last thing I'm going to touch on is ESAs. What the heck does that stand for? Emotional support animal. That's what it is. So ESAs, typically it's going to be a dog. It doesn't have to be a dog. Sometimes we see cats, we see other animals, but typically it's going to be a dog. The problem we've seen, I'm going to say in Florida, but I don't know if it's in other states or not, is literally you can find doctors on the internet who you've never met in your life, never met your pet in their life, and they will sign over ESA papers for your pet. So now you can get a pet with ESA papers. I don't know the legalities of it, but I know that nobody wants to mess with an ESA if they are running a condo or a townhouse or a homeowners association. They don't want any of that issue. They don't want a lawsuit. And so I've never seen an ESA declined. I'm not saying it hasn't been. And if it has been, I'm not saying that that's legal. What I'm saying is, in my experience, I've seen what I would say is a ridiculous attempt at getting ESA papers. Like, it is not an ESA for them. And they get it anyway. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not making judgment on it. I'm just saying it happens. And I have not yet seen an HOA say no to that. So that is something I've seen as well. I have seen people moving into areas say, if it's a single family home, it's one thing, but if it's a townhouse or it's a condo, I don't really know if I want to live in them because they let in so many ESAs and they don't really have restrictions on those, right? So that's something to consider too as a buyer is, do you really want to live in a shared wall unit with somebody who could potentially have an ESA? And now that's maybe some added noise, or maybe that's a fear of yours, or maybe you're allergic to it, whatever it is, and you can't control it. Even though the documents say, hey, no pets, they could still possibly get one in there, right? So just realize that. That's about it with the pets. If you guys have additional questions on pets, certainly reach out anytime. If you put comments in the video, whether it's YouTube or on Facebook, I'll always respond. And if you also want, you can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, send me a DM, and I'll get back to you that day. Guys, thanks for joining me as you do every Friday, and have an amazing Friday and an even better rest of your weekend. Take care.